What's up, YouTube? It's Brandon with Morning Out to LSU. Congrats to the LSU Tigers. They got a victory last night, 45-38. It's hard not to be a fanboy and to just flip out and do backflips. Because Joe told us this in the fall, right? Fall camp. 40, 50, 60 points a game. And we all just kind of rolled our eyes and said, yeah, whatever. To me, he knew it all along. Burrow knew it all along that they were going to be aggressive, that they were going to be mentally tough, they were going to be gritty, they were going to be all the things you need to be to win on the road. But first, before I start going through some stats from last night, I want to give all the credit to Texas. Man, they came out to play. And I'm one of the people that first thought about Texas as, oh, they're not that good. They play in the Big 12. Their defense is going to get blown out by LSU. They don't have the depth. They have players, but not enough. And our defense is just going to shut them down. And it goes to show you how, if you can scheme to your players' strengths, you can score on almost anybody in today's football, because LSU does have the superior athletes on defense. We did have a good game plan going into the game, but so did they. I mean, Texas fought tooth and nail. They fought to the end. They were like a stubborn bull. You just couldn't put them down. And they fought and fought and fought. And that's something that's going to take Texas through the rest of the season. And to be quite honest with you, I'm going to be watching Texas the rest of the way. I want to see how they handle Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma. I want to see how they handle Texas Tech, and all the teams that's going to score points on them throughout their conference games. I want to see how they react to adversity. So let's go through some stats. Nonetheless, Texas was a hell of a game, and congrats to Texas. They gave us all we could handle. At the end of the day, I think the difference was Joe Burrow. I mean, but we kind of all knew that. So some quick stats we're going to talk about. My prediction, I predicted 31-17. There was a ton more scoring. I really thought both defenses would play a little better. I thought there would be some turnovers, more than what there were. But it looks like both offenses took over. Real quick before I get into the statistics, to me, what I observed is the first half belonged to LSU's defense. After the first half, I was so confident thinking, man, we're just going to run the score up, because if you look at the last possession Texas had, they called timeout. They wanted to get the ball back. They wanted to get some momentum going into the half, and they didn't. I don't know if it was 3 and out, but they ended up having to punt back to LSU. And what does LSU do? They drive down and score like that, and they take all the momentum away from Texas. LSU's defense was so good in the first half. I felt like that was the defense we came to know LSU to be. Second half comes around. That first 19-play drive by Texas, I personally feel took all the wind out of LSU's defense. I feel like they took momentum and they were making a statement. We're going to keep a high-powered offense off the field for LSU. We're gonna eat up some clock. We're gonna tire the defense at LSU, and and it seemed to work. But my view of this is that the second half belonged to the LSU offense. I mean, they took over the game. So enough of that. Getting into some statistics. Joe Burrow, 31-39, 471, 4 TDs, 1 INT. You can credit Texas for the interception. That was a tip ball at the line of scrimmage, fell into the linebacker's hands, and that was about that was what you call adversity. I tweeted about this. This is the adversity they talked about. That's what I tweeted, and what I meant by that was, it's not all going to be like Georgia Southern, where you hit 5 touchdowns, 4 incompletions in the first half. You're going to face adversity. You're going to turn the ball over. You're going to go 3 and out. You're going to have 3 and 15, right? So credit LSU's defense after that interception for standing tall. They had 2 huge goal line stands, and yes, I understand that Ingram dropped the pass in the end zone, in the end zone for Texas. Hey, shit happens, okay? We dropped a ton of passes last year, and that's not the end all be all. That certainly affected the game. it affected momentum, but that's football. But that's that one INT. I just feel like, that was a tip ball, and that can happen to anybody. But very efficient. I mean, you're looking at right at 70%. I didn't do the math, but 31 of 39, 471. I mean, do y'all think Joe Burrow is up there with Tua, Jalen Hurts, of course, for Heisman contention? In 2 games, has he done enough? Did he pass the eyeball test? Because I certainly will say this. LSU's win last night against Texas was the best non-conference win of any of the top 3 teams, right? So then one would argue LSU should move up ahead of Ohio State or ahead of Oklahoma, but that remains to be seen. In regards to Joe, congrats to him. He was super efficient. This dude was so tough. He stood tall in the pocket. He faced some adversity. They got a sack on him, I believe, in the 4th quarter. They were super aggressive. I mean, I think the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. Well, he's probably in 3rd and 17 in the 4th quarter. Whenever we all thought they were just playing for field position at that point. Who knows? Who's seen them do? They brought all the linebackers on the blitz. They played 0 coverage in the back end, and and he buys time in the pocket and hits Jefferson on that deep cross. Anyway, great by Joe. Great stats. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 15 for 87, 1 touchdown. He did have some receiving yards. In the rushing category, 5.8 yards per rush. Not bad at all. I predicted him to have a big game. I really didn't know that the receivers would have such a huge impact. I thought it would be more along the lines of, Texas sending pressure, so Helaire would be, open for a lot of passing yards. But good for the run game. This game was not about the run. This game was about the passing game, which brings me into the most amazing stat of the night. 3 wide receivers over 100 receiving yards. That's the first time I've ever seen that. I don't think Mettenberger has done that with Odell and Jarvis, and I think whomever the 3rd receiver could have been. I just don't remember it. I don't even know if Rohan Davey did that, and he was really, really good. So you look at Jefferson, 9 receptions, 163 and 3 touchdowns. He had what I would call the best day of all the receivers. Jamar Chase, 8 receptions, 147 yards. He was the security blanket on 3rd down. To me, he was the move the sticks guy. He was the Michael Thomas of last night. This guy, anticipation throws, comeback routes. I mean, he just caught it and moved the sticks. What else can you say about Chase? They say he's probably the most talented and the most NFL ready. Marshall, big target, 6 receptions, 123 and a touchdown. I'm so impressed with his hands too. I mean, you look at last year's receivers to this year's receivers in reference to dropping balls. I haven't seen many drop balls yet this year. So credit coaching staff, credit Joe Burrow for being accurate. You got to throw them guys open. I know there were some tight windows last night, but you got to credit them. And that could be protection. The better the protection, we all know Burrow's going to play better with protection, just like every quarterback. Cade York, 3 for 3. His long was, I believe, a 40-yarder. I think he answered all questions last night. I think we all said, oh, he did it at home, Georgia Southern. Let's see him do it in a hostile environment at Texas. Well, he did. And, man, look, they had, 100,000 people in that stadium. And I don't know how many Tigers were in there, but there was plenty Bernard, and they were loud. He didn't flinch. So props to Cade York. They did really, really good. To me, every game has a magic number based on who you play, based on, where you play. And to me, the magic number for LSU was 40. 40 points wins you the game. Before the game started, my magic number was 30. I said, whoever scores 31st is going to win the game. And there again, defenses didn't hold up. That has a lot to do with tempo, and I'll get into that. But in this game, the magic number was 40. Whoever got to 40 points first wins the game. And LSU did it. I mean, and to me, it's crazy because every time Texas would make a push, I want to say 4 different times in the second half, every time Sam Ehlinger would go and they would score, LSU's offense would come back in and make another statement and say, nope, This is our game. They took momentum right back, and the magic number was 40. Whoever scores 40 points first wins, and it almost seemed like whoever had the ball last was going to win, because you can even ask Coach O last night. He was telling the media that on that 3rd and 17 play in the fourth quarter, if we don't convert, they get the ball back. The outcome's probably different, because we weren't stopping them. And that brings me to my next point. Tempo. So we've seen the good of the tempo. We've seen the effectiveness of the tempo. Let's talk about the effect on the defense. Not that it was 3 and out, but didn't you guys find that we scored super fast? Texas was methodical. Texas first down, 7 yards here, 7 yards there, 10 yards here, and they just chewed up clock and made our defense worn out. I mean, how many people we lost and went down to cramping. Our defense was tired, okay, and I don't know how to feel about our offense going down and scoring in 7-play 85-yard drives, or 6-play 75-yard drives. Man, we scored touchdowns. Didn't we all want that? But almost a part of me was thinking, let's be a little more methodical in that approach. Maybe take a little more time off the clock, give our guys a chance to rest. Some of that could be the heat. Man, it was 100 degrees out there yesterday. But that's some of my takeaways. I'm thinking, if you want to describe this team's efforts this week, I would grade the offensive line an A. You really can't ask more of them in that pressure situation. And in the situations that with them going tempo, our defense was put in we were defending against a what I would call a near elite offense in Texas. You got to give them credit. They are really good on offense. Given the situation, I'd give the defense a B. I mean, if you want to complain and say, they were holding 18 all night, the first half, they didn't call any holding plays, I don't think. But I don't want to talk about the negative. We can bitch and complain about the no calls. Fine. It looks like 24 had an interception, on that big play in the beginning. It looks like, Stingley contested and he came down with it, but it wasn't overwhelming, so they called it incomplete. You can nick and pick, but there were so many plays. I saw a stat right before the half. LSU was pretty balanced run and pass. At one point, it was 36 run, 32 pass, and it probably switched more passing than running toward the end. I get that, because you had to. I don't think if LSU runs the ball in this game like we did against A&M last year, that we win this game. I think you had to score in this game. You had to get to that magic number of 40. But I was really impressed with LSU this week. I was really impressed with Texas. Texas came to play. They earned my respect. I hope they earned your respect too. I'm going to be watching Texas the rest of the way. I think they'll be hell on earth, man. They're going to give Oklahoma all they can take, and I wouldn't be shocked if they win in Dallas. Looking forward to LSU's next opponent. It's going to be Northwestern State. Not that big of competition. With the next 3 weeks, LSU has proverbial cupcakes, and then we get a bye week somewhere in there before we face Florida. It's going to give people like Rashard Lawrence time to heal up a little bit. I saw he got nicked in the game. It's going to give our offense some more time to work out some kinks, because I've seen a lot of plus in the offense last night, but there's still a lot of improvements for this team. I was very impressed, but overall, 45-38. What can you ask? Do me a favor, like this video if you do, subscribe if you haven't already, click the notifications. Every time I make a video, you guys will know about it. I will have a preview video coming out this Friday with predictions on LSU versus Northwestern State. Until then, go Tigers.